Hoy, en la discusión de Frank, hablamos de la película El Quinto Elemento, The Fifth Element. Hablemos, chicos.
I know. I can't even keep up with the Instagram.
With the companion OnlyFans account.
Well, that's already there.
Oh,
Yeah, already there.
you gotta link that into the pod.
That's how I was able to afford the equipment to start.
All right. Well, so
Little quick plug.
so we can intro this pod with this pod brought to you by Frank's OnlyFans.
It's just a hot dog. That's the image.
This is a picture
Yeah,
of the hot dog.
a
at
Frank
angles.
discussion, but instead of his face, it's a hot dog as the neon.
And
you
this
know
is
the
fun.
pun.
And this is Frank's Frank.
Yeah, the
Frank's
pun.
Frank.
Yeah.
Frank's
pun.
Frank discussion.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Yeah.
Sponsored by Frank's Hot Dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Frank, if you're listening. And this is where the music cues, right?
No.
No? Oh, okay. I know, right? Editing. I'm so damn
Yeah.
idiot.
Cut that. Cut that.
Cut that.
Yeah.
Which-
Music now.
Which, by the way, the Always Sunny podcast, excellent.
It's been great.
I've been trying to. I've been watching per episode like they're doing it,
mm-hmm.
but you mentioned how they kind of like go away from even talking about episodes.
Yeah.
So I'll probably just rewatch it entirely then.
It is hit or miss. Sometimes they'll do it and sometimes they won't.
Oh,
So a little bit of Always Sunny never hurt anybody. So I'd say just keep watching along.
It's due for a rewatch. You know, it's one of those shows, easily digestible 20-minute things. Anyway, back to my podcast. Ryan, what are we watching today?
We're gonna be watching The Fifth Element.
The Fifth Element. Now I know Mike was incredibly upset that you chose this movie. He's shaking his head because it's one of his top movies of all time. But yeah, so this one is Luke. How's his last name?
Besson.
Luc Besson. He
Oh,
did
We anglicized it, but that's fine. I'm not French.
as we do. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, none of us are. Yeah, Luc Besson. He did Leon the Professional. Lucy was a more recent movie he did. Oh, also Valerian, right? In the Planet of
City of a Thousand
City of
Planets. I
a Thousand
think.
Planets.
Yeah.
We watched that. We didn't really care for that.
I never even heard of it. I don't think.
It's a
The problem is with that movie, and this will be really short, is that it starts off so good. Like the opening of that movie is amazing because it's Ground Control to Major Tom is the music. And it's this really great scene of like going from like the initial stages of the space program and like carrying into this science fiction world. It's such a good opening. And so you're so excited, hoping for the best. And then it ends up kind of being like,
just very like dull
Is this
acting.
one of the Star Wars lines?
No. This is just like a single standalone science fiction fantasy type movie.
I don't know
Yeah,
that
no,
Frank's
it's
going to
not.
be friends with you after you
I,
just
I know. It's,
besmirched
Did you see
Star
that?
Wars that way.
I think I cut you with my eyes just there. Like, how dare you?
Turns off her mic.
Yeah.
I know.
Just
Goodbye.
She slowly fades away.
out of this podcast. But anyway, Luc Besson. This is a sci-fi adventure with Mila Jovovich. It's crazy names,
Djokovic is the
Mila
basketball player, so
Djokovic.
probably not him.
right?
I think it's Jovovich.
I thought it was
Because it's like Jovo, like there's two O's and V's.
Man,
in
it's
there,
hard.
so
Yeah, just Mila.
Mila, known for
The hot
Resident
girl.
Evil. Yeah,
Yeah, known for.
Dazed and Confused. She was also that was one of her very early roles.
Yeah, that was a good one.
that
Man,
was a good one.
Yeah.
that's due a rewatch as well. That was a good one.
We also have Bruce Willis in this.
Yes.
In his,
Currently retired.
because
Yes.
what does he have? Kind of like
Some level of dementia.
right,
Yes.
or something that leads to dementia. The guy's he's
Um,
hard
yeah.
times health wise.
I think this is his first dive into like science fiction / fantasy too. Like I don't think he really did anything like this prior to.
No, it's mostly just the action films.
Yeah.
Typical 80s action.
I mean, I know. See, to me, this was always a cult classic film.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
It wasn't something that took off really really well. But I think that might be incorrect. I think it was actually kind of split people, like 50-50. Some people said, oh, it's just the European version of like, space action sci-fi film. But I thought it was a really refreshing take on it. The costume design, the the attitudes of people. It felt like it really could be that kind of alternate dimension 300 years from now almost kind of thing.
Yeah, it was actually nominated, like Oscar nominated for best effects. So definitely a big visual movie. And it's interesting, like even reading up on like some of the trivia and stuff about like the set and how they, like to create the stars, they punched holes through like a black velvet sheet and stuff like that. He purposely, Luc Besson purposely made like the corridors of the ships and everything like brighter, because every other action or sci-fi movie at the time was very just like dark and grimy. He wanted to create this as like a kind of a bright, crazy setting. But yeah, so like Bruce Willis, Gary Oldman, Chris Tucker.
Yeah.
Oh, Chris Tucker was
the best.
awesome. Ruby Rhod.
Yes.
Ruby.
go.
Fucking Rhod.
Gary Oldman was amazing too.
Gary Oldman, yeah.
I mean, he's
always
not?
amazing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But Ryan, take us like what's the storyline here? What's the summary here?
I'd say this is probably one of the very few, I won't say only, but one of the very few movies I remember seeing for the first time. I saw this movie at my grandmother's house, and I was younger, right? But I remember seeing that movie on VHS, and it was awesome. Like, I just don't remember ever seeing anything quite the same as that. And yeah, it has like to me the same level as maybe Ace Ventura or Ghostbusters. So you got those quotability, like the Ruby Rhod drops, the
I'm a meat popsicle.
yeah, what's his character's name?
Dallas.
Yeah, Corbin Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Just everything about the movie had this. It felt futuristic, but also realistic. How you were kind of talking about how the hallways and things were bright, right? It felt like a space cruise ship, which is what it was. It really did feel like you're on a cruise. The radio guy, Ruby Rhod being, hey, you won. Talk about it. And he's just like, great. And, just like one line or like one word lines.
Yeah.
It was great.
Well, I mean, another actor I think worth mentioning is Ian Holm. He was in Alien. I'm sorry, sir. Yeah, I was corrected by the
yeah, excuse me.
The producer in the. What's Mike in this situation? Babysitter, maybe. Yeah, Sir
Executive,
Ian Holm, who was also in like Alien, which was, speaking of Mike, that was his movie for the podcast. But yeah, what's the setting? What's the storyline of the movie itself? Like
So,
general plot.
I haven't seen this movie in quite a while, so I'm kind of looking forward to this.
Okay.
I'm not really one to rewatch movies very often unless it's, something for Miles, right? Like a kid's movie.
I was about to say,
that
like
just
Sonic
gets,
2.
Yeah, repeated. Or Moana. I've probably seen Moana 50 times now.
100.
Yeah, at least. So it starts, you're in space, you see these alien guys, they land in a desert, you don't really know, where you're at, and they're there to collect the stones, I think, originally, and then they get stolen in that like process. And the movie is essentially to collect the stones, and the stones are a source of power to prevent like this evil force that. Zorg. Yeah, right.
Zorg.
Yeah, and it's so good. Like Gary Oldman, that classic scene of him like telepathy, and he's just like sweating, like the
ink.
Yeah,
Yeah.
his hair is just melted, and the cost, it's just, he's an arms dealer. Like, it felt like you were watching Lord of War, but 200 years, but 200 years in the future and aliens, right? And it just, the set and setting was great. Yeah, so it's just that classic, we gotta save the world, right?
Yeah. So how old were you when you first watched this movie?
I don't know.
Came out in 97.
Yeah, I probably saw it I'd say reasonably close after it hit VHS. I did not see it in the movie theater.
Right.
So I probably saw it in like 2000. So
okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
12 maybe.
2012?
No,
Oh.
I was 12.
Oh,
right?
okay. I was about to say.
Yeah,
Jesus.
Wow,
preteen, young teen, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, probably
Cool.
right around that PG-13. What is this movie's rating actually?
PG-13.
Yeah. See. Oh, look at that.
Oh, so you,
Nice-
you waited. You're a good boy.
Yeah,
right?
nice job, parents. I was protected by the MPAA.
Yeah, there we go.
Thank you.
Jess,
Yes.
What are your thoughts on this movie? Or you're just here for the...
I honestly don't remember when I saw it.
Oh, okay.
Like what age,
Mhm.
but yeah, it was fun. I was into the girl with the orange hair.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we all were.
Especially at 13, 14, right?
Oh yeah, classic.
Okay. But, like, so it's a
And-
fun movie. You enjoy it?
Yeah, it was good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're good. We can just get started into the movie then. Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm
Let's
ready.
do it.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
I mean, Ryan, you said you had a lot to talk about.
I said I had things to say.
Oh, things to say. I'm sorry.
But,
You're right. You're right.
Yeah. Better than I remembered, honestly. I think the movie just holds up. I mean, you know, so many practical effects, the music, the costume design. It was gritty enough to be like based in, oh, I could see this, you know, like I don't have to suspend my belief too far.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it was, you know, alternate dimension-esque for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's chasing anchors too, right? Like I think in some ways it's like these little bits and pieces because it's really like there's a magical like darkness. Like there's things that are just completely outside of like norms, but it's like we talked about like the cigarettes being these really short, like these little anchors throughout the movie.
75% filter.
Yeah, it's like these anchors throughout the movie that like go, oh my god, like that is not far from what I understand today. It's like this future that I could see very close to us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely everything just kind of still exists, you know, same with the religion, cultures or whatever, but like just 300 years later, like they're still there, just advanced. So yeah, the filters and cigarettes just went down to like there's nothing to actually smoke anymore.
Yeah, they took what they thought in 1997, like what's the progression of this going to be, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
What was he limited to cigarette-wise?
Oh yeah, it was like 5, and it said like I want to. What was the motivational under it? Like
Something I want to quit.
I desire to
or-
quit or something like that.
My goal is to quit.
My
or
goal is
something
to
like that.
quit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, good. It was cool too. Like throughout the movie, we picked a couple times. Like, oh, that's the Die Hard coming out.
Oh yeah.
It's like Mike before brought up to us how it was actually marketed almost like it was another Die Hard movie. You know, all the comedy aspect of it wasn't really a part of it. And so it was funny as we're watching it now with that kind of like mindset, at least for me, you saw it's like, oh yeah, there's the action. There's like what you would see in the commercials, things like that they're trying to present.
Especially when he bursted out of the doors, like in that big action scene in Floss in Paradise.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
just bursts out of the doors shooting. It's like, oh, like that's it right there.
Yeah, or the negotiation scene, just between the eyes.
Yeah, like just
Yeah.
ragtag guy thrown
Yeah.
into a situation, you know, that I didn't want to be in, really.
Well, former military,
Yeah.
you know, trained.
Yeah. Special ops or whatever of the Earth.
Yeah,
Wha-
the,
wha-
the Earth Defense.
Yeah,
Yeah, the last one of his team.
There was something weird about like his style of comedy, the director's style of comedy. I'm gonna say his name wrong, so help me, Luc
Besson.
Besson.
I mean,
Just like even in the opening scene when we're talking about the poison, when he's trying to give the poison, and it, like his face, like just hoping, like
Yeah.
Oh.
So one of the things that I thought about this was it almost has like a film noir, right? Like it has like a Art Deco mid-century vibe, but thrown not this mid-century, next mid-century kind of weird. And I almost felt like that was a callback to almost like a black and white film, right? Of just the overacted caricature.
That's what I was trying to
type
say
thing.
too. Is like mix and match. It's like he just picked these elements from like generations, from decades, from film techniques. Like he just was all over the place, but it was so all over the place that it almost came back to something I don't know, accessible.
Fishnets and latex.
Yeah.
That summarizes the movie.
Hey, 1997, baby.
The costume design.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was it? It was nominated, like I mentioned earlier, for well, not set design, best effects, sound effects, editing. Yeah, we got a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, none of that ever made itself noticeable to me, and that to me is like the sign of, okay, all of that was done really well, because there was never any like sound or thing that made me go, oh well,
you
unbelievable.
did say a couple things, like you mentioned the peeling of the tires
See, but
With the flying
I don't know.
car.
That's taking away from it, though.
yeah,
I don't think
in
it
my
is.
ramen guy?
in my heart of hearts, I feel like that was such an
No, the-
intentional.
I know. Oh, 100%.
Like Die Hard, the police car has to like do a donut, like a J turn, but instead of it's in the air J turn.
in the
Yeah,
same
very
thing
good.
when they were in the apartment and they were telling Corbin that the military girl was going to be
The wife.
the wife.
Oh, yeah, the whiplash when she nods, like the
No, like the click and the doot doot.
Yeah.
Like her nodding. Yeah.
perfect.
No, like we mentioned at the very beginning too of watching it that the comedy the movie doesn't take itself too seriously, but it's not an outward comedy, right? It has its moments where like, okay, that's funny, but it's still like a sci-fi adventure, sci-fi action movie overall.
I mean, I think the comedy, right, in air quotes, actually made the film keep pace better. Because if it tried to be Die Hard, those periods, without like Ruby Rhod being, like wide-eyed, and like insane, without that levity, of like him shooting Ruby Rhod out from the second floor down to him, like without.
Which let's take a poll. How many times Ruby Rhod screamed?
Oh, we should have kept count.
Oh, that would have been
Yeah.
a good one.
I was about to like halfway. I'm like, oh.
Just blasted. Yeah.
Like the Aziz Light,
Light,
yeah,
that
like the beginning of the movie.
the actor that we
Luke
were making
Perry.
fun of,
Luke
Luke Perry
Perry.
was
Luke Perry.
keeping track. We should
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
They were telling
Literally
us.
every time
Yeah.
he
Next time,
like
next time.
screamed, I was like, tick in my
Yeah.
head.
For sure.
Yeah.
No, but isn't Zorg, by the way? I made a note. I wanted to bring this up. I haven't looked it up, but isn't Zorg also the villain of Buzz Lightyear?
That's Zurg.
Zurg.
Yes.
I didn't want to look it up. I wanted to
Zorg,
bring that up
Zurg.
first. Aren't they coming out with a movie too?
Yes, and
Yes.
I don't know how I feel about the art style of the clean cut
The soundtrack
Fresh.
actually sounds good.
fresh Buzz. I mean, we're gonna end up seeing
Fresh
it.
Buzz
but
Buzz?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. They're going in. They're taking the Marvel route and doing Toy Story origin stories,
Mhm.
and I'm on the fence still. So
Yeah, isn't it supposed to be like the in-universe story of Buzz Lightyear, that toy?
the toys
Yeah.
backstory reenacted? Yes,
That's quite meta.
yes.
That was like the most dad thing I've ever heard Ryan say. Like Toy Story's doing this like other thing, and I'm on the fence about whether I'm committed or not to it.
Yeah. I enjoyed Sonic 2 for what it's worth. So
I'm
the-
actually-
the
I
transition is
I
underway.
do want to see that movie,
It was better than the first one if you saw the first one.
and I enjoyed the first one.
Yeah.
You actually told me I should watch the first one.
I mean, as far as video game movies go, it was a very good video game
Yeah,
adaptation
yeah.
for sure.
Mhm.
Sonic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the first one definitely had more kind of like not Sonic, like not main character story.
Sonic's funny.
Yeah,
He's
it had enough kitty fart jokes, but then also enough like wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, there was like a bikini wax joke in there. That's not.
yeah, it
aimed-
was
aimed at
definitely
the
meant
6-year-old.
for like kids, but then for like the parents watching,
Mhm.
that little comments here and there that the kids might not get. But I thought it was pretty good, action packed the whole way.
And
It was
isn't
good.
it also like Jim Carrey's last movie?
You
Isn't he saying
think?
he's retiring?
I mean, that's what he says, but I'm
He
gonna,
was not found at the end of the movie. So
Well, spoilers.
sorry.
Easy, easy. I do want to see the movie. God fucking damn it. Anyway,
bad.
back to The Fifth Element. So you mentioned it wasn't what you remembered? Or
I
like-
think it held up better than I expected, right?
Okay.
Because we always look back at these movies that we cherish and maybe haven't seen in a while with the rose-colored glasses.
But you missed the
of-
details.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, it's just like going back and playing an old video game. Sometimes in your mind, the graphics looks better. The inconveniences of what old stuff used to be, you don't remember that. You just remember the good. But
Mhm.
actually, rewatching it, I was entertained throughout the whole thing. So,
Oh,
yeah, I think it held up better than I was expecting.
It goes by so fast. I
It does.
don't feel like it was a slow at any moment. Like that's one thing I like
No.
about that movie is that like it just has really good pacing.
Yeah.
It's what you talked about, like where it's like elements of comedy, action, mystery, myth. It just kind of has like this really nice pacing to it throughout.
Who would you guys say is the equivalent of the modern day Ruby Rhod?
What the fuck? Is that from your notes?
No, it's a valid question.
It is. Okay,
I just want it to be known real
Like-
quick that Jess has a piece of paper and you actually literally took notes. You're better than I am.
because I'm not gonna remember.
That again, you're better than I am with this, and I'm
After
the
a
host.
few mimosas, I'm
Who
gonna be
is-
like,
who
what
is-
was I gonna say?
modern day equivalent of Ruby Rhod.
Yeah.
I think it's too saturated. I think Ruby Rhod is almost like the Demolition Man, like the Taco Bell, how they won the restaurant wars, and it's just Ruby Rhod is the radio host. So I'm gonna say no one.
I'll say Joe Rogan.
Okay.
Hey, we don't
Without-
have.
without
Okay,
the
so who was the famous? So I think Ruby Rhod was the caricature. Like if you took the who was the top 40 on the weekend guy? He had the very iconic voice.
Yeah,
Um,
I know what you're talking about.
yeah. So man,
I think Ryan Seacrest took over that job after
Yes.
he left, right?
after him.
Yeah.
But nobody really. Radio, just like cable TV, is not as ubiquitous. So I think to answer your question, it's hard to say because stuff's so fragmented now, right?
Right,
Because
yeah.
people
Right.
listen to
Fair enough.
podcasts or XM radio or normal radio or what have you. So I don't know. That's a hard. I went Joe Rogan just because he's probably one of the more universal,
The most popular.
yeah,
known-
like
yeah.
that people listen to.
Howard
you know?
Stern
Yeah.
on the radio
Well,
side,
the
maybe.
thing is with Ruby Rhod is that he wasn't meant to be one of many. He was the embodiment of that loud, obnoxious
Yeah.
radio host with all the sound effects and like reverb.
Yeah. Built
You know,
in.
doo-doo-doo-doo, you know,
Yeah.
all that. He was everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if today there is really. I mean,
No.
yeah. I mean, you know, Joe Rogan's a good pick because yeah, he is the most known. You know, everyone, whether you listen to him or not, he's known. But it's like that's it. That's the only comparison you can really make. Ruby Rhod is just this loud, obnoxious.
Well, I think some of that too is probably that recently, we've had this kind of long form of radio / conversationalist, right? Which is the whole podcast concept that didn't exist in '97. So I think they were looking forward to this still radio personality,
Mm-hmm.
and Joe Rogan is an example of a different form of
What
personality.
it became.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it really there's not a lot of radio personalities anymore. There's not a lot of people that are like kind of that accessible.
Yeah, I think it's hard to find a one-to-one, but I definitely think that Chris Tucker being just constantly screaming and constantly,
Yeah.
wide-eyed and bushy-tailed right through the whole thing was the perfect counter to, the Corbin Dallas one-word answer,
I think he was celebrity.
Entertainment.
Yeah, he was
Purpose,
the celebrity trope alongside the military doesn't
Yeah.
want to be dealing with that, So it's just kind of this perfect juxtaposition.
Yeah.
Who do you think? Since you
Yeah,
asked
you
the
I
question.
mean,
Yeah,
I
you
don't
asked
think
the
there's
question.
anyone. I'm actually trying to think of like Spanish characters or Spanish like TV that I've seen in the past of characters kind of like that, but I can't think.
Oh, what was
Of
this the
anyone?
famous Spanish nighttime television
Because I feel
guy?
like Spanish
TV.
TV and stuff and radio is a little bit more dramatic
Mhm.
than English.
We watched the documentary for him.
Oh, Walter Mercado.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, like just very like
He was-
flashy. Yeah, that was actually a really good documentary.
Who is
Walter
this?
Walter
Mercado.
Mercado.
Outer space version of
He was into
Walter
like
Mercado.
astronomy and like the signs and very very dramatic and yeah, it kind of shows you like the documentary like behind the scenes, the guy that you don't really know, but yeah, the Spanish community. I remember watching him
Yeah.
at the dinner table
Mm-hmm.
growing up, but yeah. But as far as like a English,
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of anyone. No.
Okay.
Got any other notes?
Yeah, I was about to say anything
No.
else on that little sheet of paper? Just the intro you did.
No.
She's waiting. She's biding her time.
Mm.
Ryan, you mentioned how the security detail guy encountered the diva and was like freaking out. You're like, oh, how often do you see aliens or whatever? I'm like, oh, it's 300 years. I'm sure they encountered a lot. But like, yeah, to your point, your counterpoint to that is like there were no other aliens. It's all just human. So I have this theory that I built up. Pretty quick theory. But like the I had to look them up, but the Mangalore, it's like the ugly aliens. In the beginning, Gary Oldman's character was like, oh, you know, the humans, or we have like pushed your species out to like the edges or whatever. So I think actually there's a deeper, almost genocide that has been happening in the Fifth Element universe, where humans have expanded and have expelled any other alien species outward and out, so that the only species that remains in the universe is human. And now the diva is someone who they've allowed and accepted in because she has talent, whereas these ugly ones, you know, the Mangalore or whatever, have been...
Before Ruby Rhod has sex with the stewardess
Okay,
in the broom closet of the ship, though, he makes a reference. He's like, well, yeah, you're the first human I've, you know, had in a while.
Oh,
like, he
said
makes
that?
some kind of reference to...
Oh, did he?
Yeah, there was which actually made me backtrack on my first comment. However...
Ruby Rhod had a lot of sexy time.
Yeah.
With other aliens?
It was the hair. His hair was really good.
I mean, it changes.
No, it was
like
the
every
screams.
every costume changes new hair.
Yeah, he was a champion.
It's such a small thing too, but I thought it was really like it's so fun when movies and stories in general come up with their own language. So like to say something's cool or awesome, or whatever it was, the super green, call something green. Like it's a small thing, but it's such a great tweak. I think it's something that like the Harry Potter series did with, you know, Diagonally and Diagon Alley, like just these little language adjustments that like just add flair to the story itself. I think he was a good example of that in general. He added, he was a cultural example, I think, for the movie, like a cultural example of what that experience was like in whatever time that was, whatever place that was. He was an icon of culture.
I agree, and I would take it one further and actually just say when it's done right, it actually makes you feel so much more like grounded. Like it actually makes you feel like you're in this alternate, like, okay, I recognize these things, but it is different, and when it's done poorly, it will draw you out of it. So I think it is a risk for the writers, you know, to do that stuff, but in cases like this, you know, yeah, it definitely works to the effect.
Suspension of disbelief is what you were talking about.
Yeah,
earlier,
to not need to suspend my disbelief so much because they've built a world that is convincing to be its own.
So you mentioned at the beginning also that you haven't seen this movie in like a decade. Has your opinion changed at all after rewatching it now?
I mean, I think it held up so well. Again, this is probably one of the few movies I've seen more than a handful of times, you know, outside of, you know, kids' movies that just play on repeat. And, yeah, I was pleasantly surprised to see how entertained I could still be, even though I could recognize the things. Oh, I remember this scene, you know.
You were calling them out before it happened.
Yeah, you know, like, oh, man, you know. Sure, I'm sure some of that is nostalgia, right, and just appreciating. But at the same time, to know something's coming and still enjoy it is a pretty classic, you know, hallmark of something being good, right? So,
yeah, absolutely,
for sure.
And Jess, what about you? What are your thoughts on the movie now as opposed to when you first saw it?
Multipass.
You heard it here first, folks.
Actually, I was, and I mean, this might be something stupid, but hearing her talk in like that foreign language that you mentioned, or who was it that mentioned that? Mike,
they created it.
Yeah. Her and Luc Besson actually created that language. I think it was like they made it like 400 words, and they would actually speak it. But yeah,
I don't know. It sounded cool.
It achieved the effect.
Definitely.
It adds a uniqueness to just the movie, like in universe, but also just us as watchers of like, this is actually something very specific to this movie,
right? Which, you know? I enjoyed. That stood out. I don't know. I kind of remember it the way that I saw it, and again, I honestly don't remember seeing it when it first came out, so I might have seen it when I was a little bit older than maybe Ryan, but I remember it the way kind of when I watched it the first time. But you kind of pick up on little things, you know, the extra screams and the oh, and I also noticed the fact that Bruce Willis, Dallas, was wearing like the orange strappy kind of tank top thing
in the very beginning.
yeah, and you know, she had like the orange hair and like the strap, so I was like, I don't know,
Yeah.
that's something that I didn't really notice the first
I
time.
see what you're saying.
Yeah, so I'm like, matching.
Almost like a foreshadowing in a
yeah,
way.
a little matchy.
I would definitely, I'd agree that as you move through the film, there were these interesting homages, right, to the fact that it's a very like eclectic world, right? Like the Indian music during the, or the Indian kind of themed electric music, like while they were doing the taxi chase, and then, you know, the Chinese food or the Asian food
The
guy
ramen.
that comes in the
Which
with the
Ryan wants.
yeah, the floating ship, you know,
With the rudder,
yeah,
right?
the dragon boat, you know, that comes to his window, like these small things that made this huge world with all these, you know, aliens, right? Like this huge universe kind of it shrunk it, right? And you know, to the language and the costume design, you know, because to your point, I think to me the most obvious time was when they were all trying to get on the ship, right? When they were trying to get on the ship to Flossed in Paradise, they looked like a couple. And then, you know, because it helped you mentally differentiate the priest's assistant, who didn't look like he just belonged with Lilu at all, right? And then he comes, and it's matching with the vest and the, you know, the orange, the colors, just like the aliens. You know, she had the feathers and the fur.
Oh yeah, the feathers, and then the
you know,
clear
green
like
plastic skirt.
latex skirt,
Yeah.
and then the guy was like all fishnets.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
So they used the costumes, I think, to great effect to help you identify, you know, because everybody kind of looked almost
who
in the
is who.
same universe, but what side are they on, right? Like the ship, the ship people look like Titanic people, right? Like you could identify
Oh, the
those
sailors.
people super easily, right? There wasn't any confusion of who's guests, who's the. I think they did
because
a great
all
job.
the male characters that worked inside the ship all had like sailor
Mhm.
uniforms, right?
Yeah, Titanic.
And then the girls like
Very much.
Yeah.
the girls in the beginning all had like the little purple.
Yeah, the flight attendants.
Yes,
Yeah, for
which,
the space.
caught your eye.
Yeah.
Caught everybody's eye.
Mm-hmm. What was the fifth element? Was it love?
You know, now that you say that, I thought it was just humanity. Like, so if you would have asked me before you said that, I would have said, like, the human element, right? Because that's kind of like this amorphous, you know, you have the earth, wind, fire, water, right? Like the four earth elements. You went love, which is Captain Planet, I think, was the fifth one in Captain Planet, maybe.
I think so. The
yeah,
heart?
Yeah. The guy with the monkey, right?
Well,
was
like,
heart.
the reason I
But-
say love is because, like, because she was in the middle of the
Right, he had to
other
say, I
four.
love you. Right?
And we'll kiss too. You know, I don't know. Did you say I love you?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
He
because
did.
remember the priest was like, say it.
Oh,
Say
okay,
it,
okay.
Corbin.
So you're right. So he said I love you, kiss, and then that's when she like activated, quote unquote. So I'm wondering if love is supposed to be it. I like your answer better,
So,
but she was in the middle the entire time. So it's
But
like,
yeah, love, humanity.
What is
the
humanity
human
then?
side.
Maybe just compassion.
well, so I'll say the reason why I felt it was humanity was because if you remember when they were in the ship leaving after the cruise ship exploded and they had the stuff and she was hurt, she was watching on the teleprompter, you know, still learning, just like
Yeah.
she was when she was in the priest's
Everything we
apartment.
create is meant to destroy.
Right, and then she got into the whole. She went down that dark, you know,
War.
Black Mirror type, you know, like just looking at all bad stuff. And so I think she got disgruntled, and because remember, she didn't know anything when they revived her, right? So she was still learning all this stuff. And I think the missing piece was that compassion, the love, like that piece was the last piece she needed to be quote unquote like the human, the fifth element. Because
And she mentioned that too when she was talking to him. I think
Yeah.
she literally said that.
Yeah,
She's like,
yeah. What's the
she-
point?
yeah, she's like,
oh,
everything you guys
do it
create-
anyway.
yeah, is meant to destroy. Like, so yeah.
okay, I can dig it. Darren, any closing thoughts?
No. I'm trying to keep quiet.
Yeah.
Talking about compassion and love and all those sorts of things, I think that that's like a pretty compelling element of storytelling in general. Is that like you have to have the yin and yang. Like, you know, there has to be the negative to be able to express the positive, and I think that's also probably a part of that story or that explanation is that realization that, yeah, there's bad things, but the bad begets the good, and the good begets the bad, and the goal of humanity, which even now I'm uncomfortable to say humanity because you presented the theory that said that
Oh, trust me, I have something.
humans are awful, right? So that's why I kept saying compassion, because I'm like, compassion is not, it's not race or there's no driven element behind it. It's just it's just compassion. So I do think that that's a piece of the ending of that story, is that there's negative and positive, and that you have to commit yourself to the positive.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, like, it's almost kind of selfish for humans to be like, our emotions or what's the fifth element or whatever. Like
Is it?
Lilu is a perfect being, but she is of human form.
With 200 times more DNA. Like her DNA was totally different.
Outwardly
like
presented.
Perfect.
I think this is a propaganda film. I think this is a propaganda film.
For humans?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. We are the perfect being.
So who's the propaganda aimed at?
Us.
Give it time. Once we meet the aliens,
Okay.
then you'll know.
Yeah, no, it'll make sense. It'll make sense.
Yeah.
It come another 300 years from now, or another
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah.
200 years, I guess. But what's it? 220. 57.
We have a few.
When does this movie take place?
We have a few years.
Yeah.
Did they say in the movie, like, when they say, oh, year blah blah blah, did they say what year it was?
I think it's like 2257. That's the
22
number that
and
keeps
change?
coming up. Yeah,
Was it? I don't remember.
in my head. I could
I just
be.
remember Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah.
No.
on the
2257.
Oh, is
A
it?
taxi driver is unintentionally given the task of saving a young girl
2257.
who is the key that will ensure the survival of humanity.
Well, I'll also kind of close with this. One thing I really appreciated about this movie is it gave me the kind of nice noir sci-fi, getting to get this glimpse that a lot of times we only get to see when you have to be more dystopian. Like, I did not, like, at no point did this movie feel super dystopian. Like, it was New York, Brooklyn. Sure, the cops, could come and, take your flying car and stuff. But there was no crazy pollution or crazy crime or, it was a perfectly fine operating society. And yet we still got to explore, like, this whole mental thing of what does the world look like in 2020? Yeah,
But wait,
whatever,
but you say
right?
that, but like when they got down to like the pollution, it was like
No, that was just the
way
fog.
down.
No, but that was the
Yeah, but-
he said the fog.
No, there was a moment.
no, but you felt like you were like in heaven where they were, and then when they go all the way down, you're just like
No,
how
there
far-
was
how far down are we
one moment,
going?
one brief moment where I think the cruise ship was leaving New York City, and you saw New York City, and you see the water line completely gone. Like, you have the Statue of Liberty, and there's like hundreds of feet of just ground.
Yeah, because I remember like they were going down to the fog, and I'm like,
Okay.
that is pretty far down. So it's like, how high is?
I mean, yeah, it's same thing with like Coruscant in Star Wars.
So
Where it's like there's the-
I don't feel okay. So we could maybe nitpick things out, like the trash in the airport, which I feel like was just a dig at
The-
LaGuardia as an airport,
Bro,
right?
I think
Because
so.
it's
The
built on
mounds
a
of
dump.
garbage.
Well, even exactly. Like,
Yeah.
forgive the mess. Like what? Like the garbage.
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
obviously it wasn't a permanent thing.
So again, it never treaded though,
Yeah,
story wise, like Blade Runner or like a lot of these other, like Dune, and like if you just take all the classic stuff, there's always this dystopian end of the world vibe, and this was like a unnamed evil coming, but at the same time it was overall a very positive, lighthearted, and yet we still got to see really cool aliens and costumes. And
It's funny you say that too, because the opening of the movie, when you're watching it, and they're discovering things. There's this darkness that overcomes them, and these aliens that come down, and you have this sense of dread in that moment when it's your first time watching it, and it turns out those are the heroes.
yeah.
So I feel like that was also a signifier of like the positivity of the movie, of like ultimately we're gonna win out in some way or form. Is that it's just like, oh no, it's okay. Like these are
sci-fi.
these are
Armageddon.
positive. Yeah, these are positive beings.
Yeah.
I think it was a future of where humanity isn't going on one side of like the spectrum. We're not going to become like this huge utopia, so a lot of in the good direction, or hard in the negative where it's dystopia. I think it's just this is Earth, humanity, if we just kind of ride that line, we just exist and move forward.
So
Neither good nor bad.
unpopular opinion.
Uh-oh.
The aliens in the beginning are just chubby General Grievouses.
I don't even understand the
heads.
That's it. That's all you got.
That's all I got.
It's chubby because of the head.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
I mean,
they're Grievuses because of the head. They're
Right.
chubby because they're chubby.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's all you got. Is just,
That's it. No. Okay.
No. Moving on.
I just, to your point.
First
cut
off,
that
General
We'll
Grievous
cut that
is a cyborg. No, we're keeping this in. Okay. I think that was just armor on them. Go on.
They
I'm
didn't,
sorry,
they
Ryan.
didn't move very fast. No,
No, they were cute.
They didn't.
to your point, Frank,
Yeah.
I would just say that the skill that was shown in this movie was the fact that they avoided going into any kind of doomsday, end of the world type, dystopian thing.
Yeah.
It was avoided completely, which I think a lot of movies fall into the trope of the world ended and we're in this post-apocalyptic thing. Like everything seems post-apocalyptic now almost, right? And it's nice to watch a sci-fi movie that is not the case.
Or the vice versa, where it's heavenly, like the future is perfect.
That's
so
what I'm saying,
it lived in the middle, where it's like, yeah, there's some bad stuff, there's some good stuff. It's just like today.
Just made it believable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just
Mhm.
exists. If
Today,
humanity just
200
lived.
years.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, final rating of the movie? 0 through 10?
I would give it a 9.
Oh, okay. Jess, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's up there. 8, 9.
Okay.
It's still one of my favorite movies after watching it for 20
Mhm.
years, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those movies you just watch over and over again, and you don't.
It doesn't get old.
It's
You don't get
classic.
tired of it. I
Yeah.
feel like you kind of pick up on just minor details each time. You're like, oh, I didn't notice that.
And the practical effects, rather than there being a ton of CGI, some people might argue that, the plastic alien prosthesis stuff looks worse, but to me,
No, I thought it was.
I would take all those practical effects any day over, what we
Their
get
the
entire
now.
opera
body.
singer, What was
Yeah.
her name?
Diva.
Yeah,
Or-
Diva.
or
Diva,
was that her
yeah,
name?
that
I know
was
that's
cool.
what they refer to her as.
Yeah, the Diva.
No, there was
Diva.
the only places that were jarring to me were CGI, or maybe not CGI, but some sort of artistic addition, like the ship, the alien ship when it touched down,
Like the blowing up of.
but more so
Yeah.
when it took off in the beginning. So that alien stinger looking ship, when it landed, it was kind of okay when it
Oh, in
landed.
Egypt.
But when it took off,
Right.
I don't know, it just kind of looked weird when it came up. Like it was
Mm.
very,
But as far as like the scenes of them like fighting,
all that
and
stuff was good.
all that
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
was
that was
like
all great.
Yeah, it was-
Yeah.
Any of the
real
close-ups,
looking.
I had no problems with. It was actually more of like the distance shots where I was
Right.
like,
the spacey shots.
Yeah, and if I don't mind it anywhere, it's probably there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ambiance.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But also, like, when watching it, it doesn't take you away from it. We're being nitpicky right now because we're actually really diving into it, but just regular watch through of the movie, it's overall great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got some Halloween costume ideas.
Are you going to be like the opening aliens? The fat General Grievous?
No, I think I might do the girl at the
Maybe
airport.
the Zorg. Oh no,
The girl
Oh,
at the
you go to
airport
Okay.
with the white and the red feathers and the
Oh,
the late
the
text
gangster
green,
chick?
The green, yeah.
The buzz
see-through
cut?
green.
Mhm.
Yes,
You're
yes.
gonna shave your
yes,
head?
yes. I
And
think
get a
you
tattoo?
mentioned
Yeah, you
her-
got to get the
head
head tattoo.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you have to commit, so I'll be looking forward to that.
She was
Yeah.
hot too. She was hot,
Yeah.
very hot.
I thought-
I just have to get Ryan to wear the the fishnets.
No, Ryan's going to go with the on the ship.
I'm going to be Ruby Rhod.
That's yep.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Well,
Darren, what are you going as?
I'm gonna be the girl that walked him into his little hotel room. That was
In
very
blue.
excited in the
Oh.
red.
and
Ruby
oh,
Rhod.
man.
Oh no, yeah, she was wearing the
Ruby.
floral.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
This was like a Hawaii theme, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be the general with a broken nose.
He was really good.
You can do that. You can
Yeah,
do that.
yeah.
He was really good.
I'll do that. All right,
do
well, we're great.
Bruce.
Yeah.
Is that his name?
No.
Oh,
No.
it looks like a Bruce. I did it anyway.
No, I would rather be the lead priest. I think that'd be a good one.
Oh, you're being serious?
Yeah,
Oh, that's boring.
yeah, lead priest.
Sir Ian Holmes' character.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. Can I be your assistant guy?
Yeah,
Okay.
bowl cut and everything, right? You gotta nail it. You gotta nail it.
Oh man, if you can 3D print me the plastic head shield, then maybe I will do the Gary Oldman.
Oh,
you
that sounds
gotta have that.
Zorg
whole
is
big-
awesome.
And you gotta have some you gotta have like some
Character.
syrup, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, have like a
Some
tube and
jelly.
like a pump, you know, so
Yeah.
you just push the. Whenever you're in a stressful moment, just like.
Yeah.
But you have to have your little minion. What was it? This was like a pig,
Oh.
like his little
They
pet.
got me out of the desk. Yeah.
The hardest part of that though is the Flavor Saver mini goatee that he has.
Mm.
I mean,
Yep. Flavor
that's a
Saver, love it.
commitment. That's a commitment.
All right, well, I'm glad we all got our costumes ready for Halloween.
Where's this Fifth Element party happening?
Right here.
All right.
Yeah, we'll watch it again.
Well, we'll have the room in the new house too.
yes.
Ooh.
So Fifth Element party.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got enough room for like a whole theater, right? Isn't that the whole house?
Yeah, something like that.
Something
yeah.
like that. Still figuring it out. Anyway, thank you guys for coming,
Thank you.
for joining in on this little adventure of mine.
Yeah, thank you for the invite.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Jess, we'll get you on you're the main guest next time. You pick the movie.
Oof.
Or you guys can come on for a High on movie.
For what?
For High on movie.
Ooh.
And I'll pick the movie, but you guys get high.
That'll be interesting. Actually, I would like that for a movie I've never seen before.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Just no horror movies, right?
Yeah, I mean, like.
She doesn't. Yeah, I'm trying
like
to save
horror.
you. Yeah.
No, I don't pick just some random movie that like you've never seen. Like I try to get into the same thing what happened with Lauren. One of the first
Yeah,
things I asked
that
was
was-
like,
Mhm.
what movies
was-
do you like? You know, because I don't want you guys to come on and like not enjoy the experience.
Right.
You know.
I don't know. I can't. I don't know why. As I grew into an adult, I can't watch like horror, like freakishly scary movies.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. Even when we try to watch, what was it?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the whole child and
Well, yeah.
because of
It's a
after
children-
having
it's
a kid,
children
I'm
thing.
just
Yeah,
like I
children
stuff I
can't.
can't
Children
do.
stuff is
No.
hard.
I can't do it. I'm like, I think we watched the first like 3-5 minutes, and I'm like,
Yeah.
nope.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I can't do it. But yeah, I'm into anything other than like something super scary.
Okay. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
I'd be down to do some
I think
more
comedy.
odd movies too, like
Yeah.
Annihilation or some other like kind of.
I'd love to talk about Annihilation. That's another one.
That's a cool
All right, another
movie,
episode
but-
then.
Yes, thank you for joining
Oh wait,
us.
what was the other movie you guys were gonna watch? Hackers.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes. Some hackers.
Should do a theme of 90s movies.
Tech oriented.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's appropriate.
Miles, what's your thoughts on the movie?
Oh, here, somebody wants to
Miles.
say hi. What'd you think of the movie?
He just slumped onto the table.
Went about as well as I expected. Nope.
No? Okay.
He's shy,
All
like
right.
his mother.
All right. Well, on that note, cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys. Thank you for coming.
Thank
and
you.
Thank you for listening.
we'll talk
We'll be back.
later.
Esta fue una discusión de Frank. Hasta la próxima película. Chao, chicos. Bye.
Does anyone else? Is it just me?
Let's
Or is a lot of-
do some ASMR.
Oh shit!
Some what?
Well, you ruin it when you
Yeah.
talk over it.
Yeah, ASMR.
What's ASMR?
Asexual.
Whatever that acronym is.
Go on.
Yeah.
Go on.
I don't know. Yeah, audio. It's something. That's a good. Is there an Alexa here that we can?
There is somewhere.
Alexa, what is Audacity?
Oh shit! He was gonna say Audacity. ASM.
Hold on, chill.
Yeah, shut the fuck up, Alexa.
I need you to stop. Alexa, what does ASMR stand for?
He said thank you. You know what that
Things
means?
that ASMR can stand for. 1. Age-specific mortality rate.
Oh, God.
2. Accelerating seismic moment release.
Oh, somebody's releasing.
Autonomous sensory meridian response.
That.
Sensory meridian response.
Yeah.
Which means what?
Some people will listen to like somebody like doing this or like
For what purpose?
like if you just search ASMR on YouTube, you'll see people popping
Oh, okay. I know what you
bubbles
mean.
or like pouring sand sounds, or like somebody going right, like just weird, repetitive, very quiet, very close sounds. And some people, Dan got off on that shit. Like some people really, yeah.
Because it's supposed to be like a physical response, like goosebumps type stuff.
Yeah.
Really?
It's supposed to make you feel
Ooh.
feelings.
What kind of feelings did he get?
Uh-huh.
Right, I don't know what you did, man, but I'm good.